recording this presentation, and for those who want a copy of the recording, please reach out to Camille Music at cmusic@ascendix.com. Her information will be available at the tail end of this presentation. So we have a collection of people that are with us today, some of which have known Ascendix for some time, some of which do not know Ascendix and our products, and so I'm going to spend just a moment talking about who we are and our product portfolio, and then we're going to get into Ascendix real quickly. Then, as we do oftentimes in these webinars, we're going to show you a sneak peek of what our future webinar scheduled in the month of January is going to hold for you, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. So really briefly, an introduction to Ascendix. We've been in business for, heck, now 18 years, actually, all exclusively in the CRM space. We're the author of Ascendix xRE, which is developed for both Dynamic CRM and Salesforce, and have spent the last 10 years focused in the commercial real estate space evolving these products. Based in Dallas, 70+ employees, and we're partners in a strategic way with both Microsoft and Salesforce. Client portfolio, just a real quick view of the types of organizations that we do business with. We've got large, medium, and small, and so really just a sense of who we're dealing with from a clientele perspective. From a product portfolio perspective, this is a slide that we've been presenting here that tells the tale of not only the dual platform. I like to call us bilingual now. We're both a Dynamics shop and a Salesforce shop with regards to delivering Ascendix xRE. The classic methods by which we're delivering CRM is through your browser, your desktop browser, as well as Outlook and some of the mobile solutions. But we've also begun to build out other offerings that are very commercial real estate specific, and obviously most notably and focused today is the xRE Composer. There are other tools as well that if you'd like to go to our website, feel free to consume that and to ask. We'll certainly accommodate you with demos of those. But today it's Composer. So let's talk about that. What is Composer? I've kind of evolved my definition of what Composer is over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I've been very specific about this first sentence here, and that there have been some who have come to us and reviewed this and said, well, I'm not exactly sure what the value proposition, and hopefully this helps you. It's really a publisher of brochures and microsites, at least that's in its present state here, that combines pre-existing templates that we've created with really rich commercial real estate property and availability data that you already possess. Whether you possess that in a spreadsheet, some sort of a proprietary database, or perhaps in a commercial grade CRM system, what we're trying to do is leverage that data that you already have harvested and bring it to life and share it with external constituents, whether that be prospective investors or tenants or both. And so with that said, this Composer accommodates data tags for this variable data publication process that really is a bit more of a value proposition to some of the things that we've heard some of you talk about what you're doing today with, and that is the usual tenant rep broker comes to the marketing department's door and knocks on it and says, I need to get a refresh on a flyer or a brochure, or moreover, they might even say, I need a website updated, and they have to kind of stand in line and queue up for that. And so what this tool does is it brings some variable data tool sets not only to the hands of the marketing department, but in certain circumstances to brokers to go in there and publish this content almost in a real-time fashion. And we'll show some of that. So it's not a static publication. The only thing static are effectively the templates, but those are certainly things that can be edited. As I'd mentioned, we ship with approximately 50 broker-ready templates to start from, both in brochure and microsite. And as I'd mentioned also, we have a template editor that allows you to modify the existing templates that we ship with as well as create new ones. It also has been designed so that it can be deployed as a standalone solution or integrated with CRM, knowing that we already have, as a part of our product portfolio, pre-existing integrations with Dynamic CRM, and soon we'll have that with our Salesforce offering as well. But we also know that not everybody has invested in our CRM technologies and still wanted this tool to be available to those who might have not even invested in CRM altogether, but have this really rich property and availability data that they want to magnify and leverage. The last thing I'll say is what Composer is not, and it's not meant to be a full-blown report writer. There is, I guess, use cases that you could tweak this to become something of a report writer, but package-oriented, it is a brochure and a microsite generator. Some sample implementation scenarios. Allows you to brand sites and the collateral with your company logos and disclaimer language and professional profile pictures, all of which would be stored in a centralized library. Able to produce both single and multi-property content, whether that be brochures or microsites. And with the output, most notably with the links that we generate through the microsites, you have the ability to take those links and post those and share them in social media outlets. You can also take this content and share it with clients and prospects alike via one-off emails, which we'll show in this demonstration, or for those of you who have email service provider tools, the output of this particular publication can be exported and provided to an email service provider of your choice as an upload of raw HTML and then sent off in that tool for your deliverability, your click-through analysis, and forwards and so forth. That's not what we are here. We're really the content generator, but did want that use case to be highlighted here. And obviously, you can print the brochures, the flyers, and tour reports for hand delivery, etc. And then lastly, another use case is the ability to personalize the URLs with some vanity naming conventions so that you get SEO benefit. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the actual Composer in its standalone flavor. So what we have here is our out-of-the-box Ascendix xRE Composer solution. It has been integrated with a data store. This is not a CRM integration demonstration in this scenario, but it has been mapped to the data that exists in this fictitious company where there is property and availability data combined with images associated with each. And so that data has now been mapped in and now available as a result in our Composer solution. Just orienting you very quickly to the UI. It's a very abbreviated UI intentionally. We have a search box at the top, allows us to go in and search for records in these categories, properties, availabilities, and templates, which this is the navigation bar. Whatever you click on the left-hand side is going to show up as a result set in this middle panel here. And so we've got properties, availabilities, and templates. And so in this particular case, if I were just to expand this to all of the data in the database, we could go in there in a fictitious example, say that we're looking for a property in the city of Dallas. And so by simply typing in Dallas, we get all records that have in some way, shape, or form a relationship with Dallas, Texas. And the particular property of focus today is this Trammell Crow Center. And again, by virtue of harvesting that from our central database, whether it be CRM or some other, we're now bringing all that data through that map into this facility, allowing us to see a number of data elements related to the property, the images that are related to it, the availabilities, address information, amenities, summary information, and property information, such as location description and description. We have the ability at this point, after having loaded in from our central system of record, the ability to edit that property data, and that oftentimes there is a need to maybe highlight a particular facet or aspect of a property or an availability. So post-import, now in this marketing container, we have the ability to modify that data even prior to doing any kind of a brochure creation. We can even delete the property should we want. So in this scenario, let's go ahead and move forward with publishing it. And so we have selected a brochure. You'll notice that we have both a brochure and a microsite panel. I like to call these the packaging panels for brochures and microsites, and it's just as easy as toggling back and forth to decide whether you want to publish a microsite or a brochure. In this case, we'll do the brochure, and we're going to simply do a very simple one-pager, one property, one availability scenario. We'll get into some more advanced scenarios when we talk about the integration. And so with the brochure panel, packaging panel available, we simply just grab our mouse and depressing it, we move that over into this property, this panel area. And so it's drag and drop capable. And at that point, we've got the availabilities that are associated with Trammell Crow listed. And at that point, we can just move one or many of those availabilities through another drag and drop capability. And so now we've got the property and the associated availabilities. We can select multiple at a time with checkbox technology and dragging those. Now we've selected the simple example of the property and the availability, and now all that's left to do here is to simply go in and search for the appropriate brochure template. And so the search window is something that I will use again. In this case, I to go and type in the word urban, having familiarity with those pre-existing templates. I get two options available to me. The availability per page and the property per page. And those templates are differing in that one has more of a grid orientation that shows all the availabilities, and one's a bit more like a web page, if you will, although this is a brochure template. So I'm happy with my selection, so at that point I just simply take that template and I drag it to the packaging center. At that point, what I'm left to do is click the Create Brochure button. At that point, it starts the generation process. Much like a mail merge operation or a report, it's taking all that variable data and inserting it into the tagged areas of this template so that you don't have a whole lot of work to do post migration. And so we're generating that, and we've got two options available to us here in this area of the screen, a preview option and an edit option. And if we were to look down here at the bottom, if there were multiple pages, those would show up here, and we could toggle amongst those pages as we see fit. If we click the preview option, this gives us a preview of what that brochure would look like if we chose not to do any edits whatsoever. We've got the 2001 Ross Avenue property record brought in. We've got the location description and a variety of other details here. We see that we have some work to do with regards to auditing and modifying the images, as well as some text perhaps. But in the preview mode, this is really just what does it look like prior to editing. Once we click the edit button, we're brought into our editor as a user anyway, not the authoring tool, and we're able to go in there and make some decisions here. We at this point choose to change the primary image for this particular brochure by selecting one of a variety of tagged images for Trammell Crow Center, and we've got some image positioning controls here, and I'm going to choose fit, not too dissimilar from that of how you select your image for your wallpaper on your PC. So we've got the primary image, and then we might come in here and start to maybe include a few interior photos. And so I'll grab one of those and also position that appropriately and move on down one more time to complete the process here. And so it's really that easy. Again, we presuppose that the image was already crafted and perhaps done by the marketing group or an administrator of the tool. And then after having been made available and published in the library, the broker or whomever the end user might be now has the marriage of both the availability and property data in that data store combined with those templates to produce this really professional looking brochure with not much more fanfare than that. By clicking the download brochure, this takes us to the last step of this publication process. I simply click on download brochure, and the notification lets me know that the generation is in progress. And after having clicked OK, we have down in the lower left-hand corner that brochure that's been created. And by clicking the open window, we now have that PDF available to us here, allowing you to see what that looks like prior to either saving it to your desktop or printing it out. And so that's a quick overview of how we would create a brochure for a one property, one availability scenario. What is going to follow a very similar path is the ability to go in there and create a microsite as well. Again, we're staying in the standalone flavor of the tool here, and so we just take the same steps here. Perhaps we wanted to create both a brochure and a microsite for Trammell Crow Center, and so we've got the search capabilities available to us, but we've already got Trammell Crow highlighted, and so we'll just do the same operation, dragging Trammell Crow over And in this case, we may grab both availabilities and have those be brought over to the packaging center. Again, subtly so, but certainly what has been done is moving the packaging panel, to focus on a microsite as opposed to a brochure. Having done that, when I click over onto the templates, we'll see that if I were to do a search for urban, we're going to have a template here, this time just one. And with that template now being selected, you'll notice that it's slightly different than the template that we had earlier. There's a bit longer scroll here because it's being rendered in HTML, so you've got a scrolling concept here, and there's also the opportunity to collect information when it's posted up on the web, which is really not possible or an option when you're doing a hard copy or a PDF. And so now that we've got all those selections made, we can move forward with the creation process once again. So much like earlier, it's doing its merging of the tags and so forth and bringing that into, well, it's not a demo unless you get an error message. So we'll do that one more time here. Grab this time. Well, I may have to go ahead and just restart this thing. So let's grab a property here, Trammell Crow, once more, and we'll grab the availability, and we'll grab our template, and whoops, guess I need to go back over to my microsites. Grab the availability. Come on now. Well, I may have to put a bookmark in that and come back to that. So I tell you what we'll do is we'll convert on over to the integration story here and give you the microsite from there. So with that said, now we're going to show the presentation of Composer integrated with Dynamic CRM. What you're seeing here is Dynamic CRM 2013. And so for those of you who are not familiar, we'll just give you some guidance here very quickly. Inside of Ascendix xRE, we have a variety of commercial real estate elements to it, properties, availabilities, and the like. And so in this particular example, what we're going to wish to do is to generate a brochure that's based off of multiple availabilities that might be spread across multiple properties. And so if I click on the availabilities area, it's going to bring me into a list of availabilities. And I've got any number of them. I've defaulted to the Dallas availabilities drop down, and so I'm going to select now a unit or a suite from 2100 Ross combined with some units that are in the Trammell Crow Center. And so I've got two availabilities from Trammell Crow and one from 2100 Ross. And from a local menu, I have the ability to go in and create that brochure. And so what I've done now is I've selected the availabilities and I've selected the properties by virtue of the availabilities being linked to those properties. And at that point, I can go in and select my template. And so here we'll do another search for those templates that I've been gravitating to in this demonstration. We've got two available to us. At this point, I'll go ahead and select the urban gray theme once again and say create brochure. So what it's doing now is it's processing this and actually should bring back 2 pages, and that this is a brochure that is a multi-page brochure. So we'll take a look at what that's generating for us. So we've got the Trammell Crow Center here with 2 suites and 2100 Ross with 1. And so actually that renders 3 pages, all of which are separated by property and availability. At that point, much like we had with the non-integrated capacity, we have the preview option, allows us to go in and preview that. Unlike the example I gave earlier, we have the ability to toggle from one availability to the next, showing the differences in those. And so we've got suite 7100 and 5600 at the 2001 Ross, and then we've got 2100 Ross, or 2201 Main Street, also known as 2100 Ross, available for us as well. And so if we choose to edit, we get the same editing capability here. I won't use time on this particular call to to go through that process, as it works the same way. What I did not show in the past was how you edit text, and so what we have here is the ability to go in there and modify that text and have that be adjusted over and above the data that was uploaded into the database. Once those adjustments are made, you have it re-rendered with any adjustments, and at that point you click on the download option. So it's downloading it much like it did in the standalone, and making that available for you to print out and so forth. But with the integration, we actually close the loop there and allow you to actually log that related to those availabilities and the property for further action here. So the PDF option is available if we wanted to open that up and see it generate as it did earlier. I guess I should have not closed the other. So we've got this dialog still open for us inside of our integrated version of Dynamics. And so we click on the close option, and we can go to any one of those availabilities that was associated with that particular publication, and we can go and grab that particular publication, in this case sorting it by created date, and select it. And at that point we can hit the send button, which will allow us to actually leverage the Dynamics CRM email capability to actually send this out to a recipient. And so we're loading up the email form and having that form attached to it the PDF that we just generated. And so all I need to do is at this point type in the to and the from, and we'll go ahead and send this to Camille. And we've got that, and then if I wanted to put a subject in here, and I'm saving and sending. And so it's as easy as that in terms of the whole process flow. And at that point, now that that would send out, we'll actually record that into Camille's history, but it would also have logged all this associated with the availabilities that you see here. So a similar action could be taken with regards to the microsite, and let's go back to that example. So we're going to go back to the property scenario here. We'll type in Trammell Crow, and after selecting that, there are a number of ways to get to creation of a brochure in a microsite, one of which is to use a tab row that we have below, as I showed with the availability, but we'll also have the localized menu above. So I'm going to go ahead and use this once again, in this case creating a microsite. So again, it's selected the Trammell Crow property and all of the availabilities. This is a use case when you start from the property where it defaults to having all of those availabilities included in the brochure. And again, as has been the case in all of these examples, I simply do a search for that particular brochure I want to publish through. And at that point, having selected the Trammell Crow Center template with any luck, we'll actually get that to actually generate for us here and allow us to preview it. And so if we click on the preview button, we can see that this is dissimilar to the brochure in that there's not this 8.5 by 11 kind of parameter, but more of a web content orientation to this, where we have at the bottom, you know, an interactive form. Of course, this is before we've modified into the content, but you get a sense for how that looks. And so we click on the edit option, and now we've got that editor that allows us to go in there and make all those modifications. For instance, going in and adjusting the picture like we did last time, and perhaps choosing a different one, and continuing on to that process will yield a finished product. Once we hit close, then it re-renders that particular microsite. You'll see that there are a couple of settings at the top here that I want to have us focus on. Launch, which we'll do here shortly, export, and settings. And in the intro, I mentioned that there is the ability to name these microsites with something a little bit more descriptive so that you can help for search engine optimization and so forth. So here we might put Trammell Crow Center 3, and you'll notice that it automatically goes ahead and grabs the rest of the URL. We hit save. There are other things that we can do, like naming the actual title of the tab. So if this is something that we wanted to show off as Trammell Crow Center in the tab when someone launches this in a browser, then that's how you would adjust that. At that point, you've got a couple of other options. As I mentioned earlier, one of those scenarios might be using this as simply a publication tool and then exporting that and making available HTML that you can port over and bring into your email service provider of choice. And then lastly, we have the launch option, which is actually launching this and making it live so that it is accessible out there on the net. And so we've clicked on the OK, and now we see that the status is online. And so at that point, we finished our publication process, and ultimately what we want to do is go in there and share that with someone. As I mentioned in this use case, let's say that we wanted to share this with an individual, a single individual. We could grab the publications here, and we'll just use this particular one. And actually, if I go to my microsites filter, that'll give me what I need, and do the created by. And at that point, we've got the one that we just recently published, and by hitting the send button in this case, instead of it attaching the document, it will actually embed the URL into the body of the email, and then allows you to go in there and author the rest of that. Same action for from and to, and you could get the sense for how you would author that and send it away. And so that is the integration that I wanted to show you, and really concluding somewhat the demo of the Composer in both the standalone and the integrated fashion. So with that said, let's go ahead and move back over to a couple of other things that I wanted to share with you during the presentation. As I've mentioned, we have a template editor. For those of you who are familiar with email service providers, there are a number of editors there, and we've built our own here, very similar in terms of multi-widget dropping. Again, you are constructing in many ways kind of a variable form from the ground up with this, or have that flexibility. Best practice is probably to start with some of the templates that we've already provided, but you certainly have the ability to build this up from the ground. So let's get into pricing. So this is priced much like some email service providers, where we've got bands of publications. Monthly subscriptions are priced out in those bands. You see the publication volumes there, ranging from 150 a year all the way up to 2,500 a year. And you see the price, it's a monthly price there. The custom brochure development, we actually include the development of packaged brochures in the base standard professional and enterprise. So it gives you a sense for how we're pricing this. And again, as I'd mentioned earlier, you can start from the existing brochures to really kind of get you to market quickly. And so that's Composer. Let's talk a little bit about, before we open it up to Q&A, future webinar topics. So we've got one coming up on the 29th. It's revolving around what we're calling the Smart Client. And to tease it out, it's simply a supercharged search-oriented interface that is an alternative for brokers who are more consumers of data as opposed to creators of data. And for those of you who have attended past webinars, you've probably seen us discuss that at a high level. We're going to do a deep dive into that on the 29th of January. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Camille for the Q&A.
All right. Well, we've got a couple questions already, but as a reminder, if you have a question, go ahead and use the question portion of GoToWebinar, which is most likely in that panel on the right side of your screen. Okay, first one we have, Wes, says you said you could send the content via eBlast. Can you do it directly from Composer?
Not from an eBlast. We're not trying to be a recreation of existing email service providers. We don't provide the deliverability piece. Look at us as the the content creator piece of your email service provider is a variable, I'll call it variable content creator, and then that's where we would hand the baton off after having downloaded that into an exportable HTML file to an email service provider that then could upload that and allow for that to be sent out for clicks and tracking of that nature.
Okay. When is the integration between xRE Composer and your Salesforce offering going to be available?
We're shooting for before the year is out, but I would say safely that we're looking at the first month of the first quarter of 2015.
Okay. Next one is, where does the property and availability data come from?
So it depends. With the standalone, we have the whole option of pulling in data from wherever you might have it. So let's take, for instance, you've harvested data in a proprietary access database or something more along the lines of a SQL Server database. We can grab that data from those sources there and have those available both at the property and the availability level. With regards to CRM scenarios there, especially as it relates to our CRMs, the Ascendix xRE, that would be the source of data. But again, as I've mentioned, if you have your own CRM, we can connect to that as well. But I guess you could also say, because Composer does have its own data store that is being loaded from the other proprietary data sources, you could actually use that as a data store, but it's probably not what we're looking for, not how we would prop this up. It would be more of an integration with an existing data store.
Are there any metrics provided on the microsites? Example, number of visitors, clicks, etc.
So we're still working on what we're going to do there. We don't really have anything that tracks it other than the mere notion that you've got that form that allows people to submit their information through it and then be referenced as a lead. But we're just beginning some road mapping discussions for future releases, and that's something that's come up, and we've got that log, but it's not present now.
Okay. Next question. It says, say I want to create both a brochure and a microsite on the same property. If I change property data on a brochure, will that update the microsite and vice versa, or do each need to be edited separately? Good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. Presently, thinking through this, I might actually want to grab, I believe that that's going to be done separately, but I think that we've got something in line in terms of automating the process of creating both of those at the same time, where if you edit one, it trickles. But I think presently it's a dual effort. It's a good question. We need to follow up on that one. Anything else, Camille? Did I lose you? So I'm not sure if we've lost Camille, but it looks like there's a question, can we import data from that form back into CRM? Presently, no. There is no way to actually bring data from the brochure, the Composer, back into CRM. It's more of a one-way information flow. Camille, I'm not sure if you're on.
I am here.
Okay.
The next question I got was, can we import data from that form? Contact us back into CRM. You got that one?
I just addressed that one.
All right. And then the next one is, what other CRM tools do you integrate with? So
Salesforce and Microsoft will be our out-of-the-box integrations, and again, specifically our Ascendix xRE versions of Salesforce and Dynamics. But all others, it will really be more of an integration, kind of a look and see how you want it integrated, so it'll be more of a custom integration. But the out-of-the-box ones will be with the xRE.
Okay, and the last one I have right now is, can you create templates for our specific branding needs?
With the template editor, there is an abundance of flexibility. We've been approached by a number of individuals who had very specific templates, and there are some scenarios, especially when you have overlay type graphics that are behind text and such, where we have some challenges today. But by and large, it's dropping in logos, color treatments, and palettes, along with disclaimer language as you see fit. Those are all options that are available for you to modify and accommodate for in the editor.
Okay, well, that is all the questions that I have in the Q&A. Unless somebody needs to shoot out a quick one, I think that's all we have, Wes.
Okay, well, like I said, this has been recorded, and if there is a desire for a little bit deeper dive demonstration, please reach out to Camille. Her information is on the screen here, and we'll be happy to set that up for you. So you've seen the Dynamics integration. We'll probably be putting together a YouTube video or some such that shows the Salesforce integration as well, but it'll behave very similarly to how you saw that behaving today. So I appreciate everybody's time, and we hope that you enjoyed the content and look forward to your feedback. Thanks much.